Hi everyone, hope you're all doing okay. Today I'm going to read Here Comes Trouble, written by Tessa Crawling. I hope you guys read along with me and I hope you enjoy the book. Chapter 1. On Friday afternoon, Class 7 had an art lesson. It was their favourite lesson of the week. Everyone looked forward to it. Everyone except Trudy Rubble. Trudy had elbows that stuck out and knocked things over. Her hands were large and clumsy. Her feet were so big she was always tripping over things. When she came into the classroom, Rob Mason said, "Look out, here comes Trouble." This was Rob's idea of a joke. He called her Trouble because it sounded like her two names, Trudy Rubble, put together. The other kids laughed. Trudy had to smile and pretend she didn't mind, but she did mind. She minded a lot. Mrs. Weston said, "Sit down, Trudy. Let Lisa bring you a water jar and some paints, and don't move out of your seat unless you must." Trudy knew why Mrs. Weston wanted her to sit down. Mrs. Weston had been her teacher for 3 months now. She had seen what happened when Trudy tried to do art. It was always a disaster. Lisa Gibbs fetched paper and paint and brushes. She put them on the table she shared with Trudy. Next, she filled a jar with water and took that to Trudy. Before she sat down, she moved her chair as far away from Trudy as possible. Trudy wished she could be more like Lisa. Lisa never knocked things over. She had small hands and feet and wavy brown hair. Trudy's hair was as straight as straw. "Now today," Mrs. Weston said, "I'd like you to paint me a monster. The scariest monster you can think of." "Oh, great!" Class 7 loved painting monsters. Trudy decided to start with the eyes. The eyes were the scariest part of any monster. She dipped her brush in red paint. Then she made 2 large red circles on the paper. Then 2 large yellow circles. Then 2 large green circles. But it didn't look much like a monster. It looked more like 2 sets of traffic lights. She glanced at Lisa's picture. Lisa had painted a beautiful green dragon with flames coming out of its mouth. Trudy sighed. She reached out to dip her brush in some black paint and, "Oh no!" She knocked over the jam jar. Dirty water spread in a pool across the table. It drowned Lisa's dragon. "Oops, sorry," Trudy muttered. Lisa stared down at her soggy picture. Tears came into her eyes. Rob Mason came over to look. "Hey, Mrs. Weston," he called. "Come and see what Trudy's done now." Trudy went red in the face. "I'll go get a cloth," she muttered. She jumped to her feet and crash! Her chair fell over backwards. She turned round and her paintbrush caught Rob Mason across the face. It gave him a droopy black moustache. He was so surprised that he staggered back against a wired bookstand. The bookstand came crashing down and books went all over the floor. "Oh no!" Mrs. Weston came hurrying over. She caught her leg on Trudy's chair and laddered her tights. Disaster! Chapter 2. "I hate art," Trudy thought as she went home on the bus. "And I hate school." She wished she never had to go to school again. The bus stopped outside her house. She jumped up from her seat. Her elbow knocked her woman's hat right over her eyes. "Oops, sorry." She got off the bus and ran indoors. As soon as she opened the door, she knew something was wrong. The house was too quiet. Not a sound from the kitchen, not a sound in the hall. "Mum?" she called. "Mum, where are you?" "I'm upstairs, Trudy." Mum's voice sounded strange, all hoarse and croaky. Trudy went upstairs 2 at a time. She opened the bedroom door. Achoo! Mum lay in bed, holding a box of paper hankies. "I've got an awful cold," she said. "Don't come too close or you might catch it." "Okay." Trudy stayed near the door. "Shall I make you a mug of tea?" Mum said quickly. "No thanks. I'll wait till your dad gets home." Trudy sighed. She knew why Mum didn't want her to make any tea. She was afraid Trudy would spill it coming up the stairs. "But there is something I'd like you to do." "What's that?" Trudy asked eagerly. "Take a message to Mrs. Willow. Tell her I shan't be well enough to come to work tomorrow." Mum blew her nose into a paper hanky. "She's a very old lady. I don't want to give her my cold." I'll go straight away. Trudy turned to the door. Thanks. Oh, but Trudy. Trudy stopped. Yes, Mum? Mrs. Willow's house is full of beautiful things. I have to be very, very careful not to break anything. So if she asks you to come in, you'd better say no. Trudy sighed. Yes, Mum. She went downstairs again and ran along the crowded street. Oops, sorry, she said as she bumped into a passerby. Luckily, she didn't have far to go. Mrs. Willow lived in a tall, graceful old house. Trudy knocked on the door and waited. She heard the tap-tap of a stick coming from inside. The door opened. There stood an old lady with white hair and sharp blue eyes. Although she walked with a stick, she was tall and graceful like her house. Hello, Mrs. Willow, said Trudy. I'm Trudy Rubble. My mum's your home help. She won't be able to come tomorrow. She's got a cold. I'm sorry to hear that. What she needs is my special cold cure. Come inside and I'll give you some. Mrs. Willow opened the door wider. Trudy remembered her mother's warning. I'll wait here, she said. Alright guys, I'm going to stop that there. Tell me what you think might happen next. Do you think Trudy's going to go into the house? Do you think Trudy's going to listen to her mum and stay outside? If she does end up going into the house, what do you think might happen? Can't wait to read what you guys think. I hope you all enjoyed the book. Hopefully I'll get to see you all very, very soon. Hope you're all keeping well and having a really good time. I'll see you later.